Namaste, guys. Christian R. Long, Life Enhancement Consultant, giving you a big and beautiful shout out on this Thursday evening. I would have gone on just a little bit earlier, but I was spending a lot of time drinking a smoothie after working out. I worked out later this evening, or later in the day. I usually work out in the morning. And this has a lot of carob nibs in it. N-I-B-S, carob nibs. So are like little tiny bits of dark chocolate, and it was super, what's up Paula, what's up Amy? It was super challenging eating this. Drinking, you ever drink something that's really thick and then not only are you drinking it, but you're eating it at the same time, so it's like a really dense meal. So, so that's why I'm a little bit later than usual jumping on the stream for you guys. But I'm about to head out the door relatively soon to go to my Thursday night social dancing, Zouk, for those of you who do not know. What's up, Saibo? Atma Namaste, good evening as well. And so Zouk is something I do 3 times a week, which is a Brazilian dance form, Brazilian partner dance form. So if you took hip hop and you took salsa and they had a baby, that's pretty much Zouk with better music. That's my opinion. So I want to jump on real quick from an experience I had last night at my first ever The Great American Love Debate. The Great American Love Debate. So this this gentleman, and my apologies, Ryan, I'm not remembering your last name right now. So this guy Ryan, who's in his, I believe, mid-40s, about 4 years ago started this nationwide and then worldwide movement of going to comedy studios and locations around the world and getting the sexes to come together and to talk about the issues that they have of why isn't anyone on the same page. Men want one thing, and then it appears that women want the exact opposite thing. So the Great American Love Debate was held last night in Denver. At the Denver Improv Comedy Center. And it is, let's see, there was about 85 to 100 people that were in the room. Probably 90% of it was women, 10% men. And there were 6 panelists, 5 women. There were supposed to be 5 women and 2 guys. One guy got stuck in LA, so it was 5 women and 1 guy. Who were basically fielding the questions from the audience and kind of giving more of an expert viewpoint. Some of them were dating coaches, some of them had dating podcasts, some of them are just ordinary coaches. So you're getting different perspectives from people that are kind of in the know, so to speak. And it was very interesting to hear some of the statistics that that Ryan was throwing out. By the way, Ryan, that was yesterday was their 290, what's up, Carrie? Their 299th Great American Love Debate all over the world. So this is I think they've come to Denver 4 times, and I've missed all the times except for this one. And 3 of those times, a person that was on the panel was somebody that I was dating. What's up, Rachel? Atma Namaste. So I thought some of the statistics that he came up with, that he found in interviewing, I think, over 67,000 people that have become part of his events. Everyone says, how many people do you think, if you met, how many people do you think you would need to meet out of 1,000 people? How many of them do you feel could be your soulmate? Right? If you meet 1,000 people, how many of them do you think could be your soulmate? And everyone in the audience is giving different numbers here and there, but they found out, in general, 3 to 5 people of that 1,000 could be your soulmate. But isn't it interesting that all you have to do is reach out and connect to these people, because how many people do we interact with or do we come across on a daily basis at the grocery store, at the Starbucks, at the gym, at our work, at the park, at wherever, right? And I thought it was very interesting that one of the biggest challenges, what's up, Jennifer? Atma Namaste. One of the biggest challenges that men have in the world of dating. Now keep in mind, I'm talking about dating, I'm not talking about long-term relationships. One of the biggest challenges that men have in dating is approaching a woman, because it's terrifying for a man to have fear of, I'm going to go up and I'm going to say the wrong thing, she's going to give me a dirty look, she's going to tell me to screw off, right? and that's not going to be a good feeling for the guy, right? So that's why most men, what's up, Mahek? That's why most men don't approach women. That is the number one fear of men, is approaching women, wherever they are, whether it's at the Whole Foods, the yoga studio, the gym, at work, at a bar. That's the number one fear that men have. And isn't it interesting that the only man that was on the panel, said over and over and over again, you could make it much easier for us ladies if you were approachable, right? And so what does he mean by approachable? Meaning, in general, what are we typically doing all day long? We have our phones, we're looking at our phones, and we're on social media, we're checking our emails, we're getting back to people through text messages. So we're glued, literally in some cases, glued to our phones. So people aren't looking up and making eye contact. So it was interesting. Ryan had a challenge for everybody that was part of the group, the 85 to 100 people that were part of the group last night. He says, for the next week, every day, try to find blue eyes. Blue eyes. So that means you have to make eye contact. Oh, that person has green eyes. That person has brown eyes. That person has brown eyes. Oh, wait a minute. That person has blue eyes. And in the recognition, hey Nina, Atma Namaste, in the recognition of another person, they recognize you, you recognize them, and so you have a level of harmony. So another question was asked, what percentage of people are finding their partners or finding their dates online or through social media apps like Tinder and Bumble and what have you? And it came up to 42% of people are finding their dating partners through an app or online, through Match.com, through eHarmony, through Tinder, through Bumble, through Zook, through social, through Plenty of Fish, through OkCupid, right? So all these different avenues people are taking online to find love. And what was another interesting statistic that he was talking about? 14% of men are 6 feet tall or higher, and 7% of men are 6'2" or taller. I thought that was kind of an interesting statistic. And he talked about types and non-negotiables. He was asking the audience, he said, what are your non-negotiables? The things that person absolutely has to have or absolutely can't have. And each person would say, oh, they can't have a criminal record. And he goes, well, what if they had a DUI when they were in college? Like he gave all these what if scenarios, and then the person was reassessing their answers of like, you know what? Maybe that's not a non-negotiable for me. The thing that he found out was a non-negotiable. What's up, Christine? The thing that he found out that was a non-negotiable for women was women desire these three qualities in their partner. They desire to feel safe, they desire to feel sexy, and they desire for trustworthiness in their partner. So those three qualities: safety, sexy, and trustworthiness. And pretty much the biggest thing that men look for is playfulness and feeling needed by their partner. Playfulness and feeling needed by their partner. What's up, Jason? So I thought that was fascinating that he had an interesting challenge for the women that were in the audience. He says, look, if you're looking to attract the attention of another man, but in a non-sexual way, just to have an interaction, just to have a conversation that's playful, he goes, stick out your tongue. And everyone's like, what do you mean stick out? Like the women are like, what do you mean stick out our tongues? And he goes, trust me, we've done this tens of thousands of times all over the world, and just sticking out your tongue with a goofy face like, right? That is enough to pull the man in, to make yourself approachable, and then to have an interaction, right? Because what are men's number one fear? It's the fear of approaching. And it was funny because I was one of the guys in the room. I was one of the 10% of the men that were in the room. And I've actually spent about 7 years studying social dynamics between men and women. And I actually was teaching men how to be successful in approaching women and connecting with women in an intimate way. Now, the ingredient that I was missing And the ingredient that I realized that was missing from the talk last night was, once you're in a relationship, how do you make the relationship work? Right? Once you're in a relationship, how do you make the relationship work? And here's a big factor that I noticed is everyone's talking about what they need, want, hey Josh, what they need, want, and desire, which is solar plexus chakra, right? We talk about the chakras. That's what these live streams are about. Energy healing, meditation, and practical spirituality. And then we fit in topics and then we tie them all together. So energetically speaking, when we are needing something, desiring something, or wanting something, we're coming from the solar plexus chakra, which is lower vibrational energy. And have you ever been around somebody who's needy? How does that make you feel when someone's really needy? When someone's really pulling on you? When someone's leaning and depending on you? You're like, ugh. It kind of feels yucky, right? Because it's lower vibrational energy, and it's almost, it's like gritty almost on your energy body that you pick up on a subconscious level. But what if you operated not from the solar plexus chakra, but what if you operated from the heart chakra? Because the underlying theme as to why men and women are not coming together and dating and having success in dating and success in long-term relationships is love, is the heart. So if you love somebody deeply, what's there to get hurt about? What's there to be needy about? If you're constantly flooding the other person with love, with sweetness, with tenderness, with joy, with inner peace, with stillness, and you're giving and giving and giving and giving to that person, and they're not reciprocating in the way that you would want them to, isn't that more empowering? Because you're like, look, I'm going to love you no matter what, right? That's more the long-term thinking. In the beginning, people aren't like that, right? They're very like withheld. They keep their cards close to their chest. They're like, I'm not going to be too affectionate too soon. I'm not going to put myself out on a limb. I'm not going to be the one that is vulnerable first. But what if you chose to, instead of operating from the solar plexus of what can I get, and you operated from the heart, how can I give to this person? I think that would be a far more empowering experience for you, because whatever you plant, you reap. So if you plant corn, you get corn, right? If you plant hatred, you get hatred. And if you plant love, you get love. Because what I noticed in the room of 85 people, 90% of them women, 10% men, and I'm being generous, it probably wasn't even 10% men. There are so many beautiful people in that room that are desperately seeking love, affection, tenderness, connection, growth, and development with a partner. But everyone's so terrified of being hurt and terrified of being vulnerable and terrified of being taken advantage of. But if you focused on your heart and you're like, how can I serve this person? How can I give to this person? How can I plant good seeds in my relationships with people? Because if you're planting good seeds in your relationships with people, good fruit is going to come in your life. Now, you might be thinking, so if I plant love in that person's life, that person's going to give me love in return. Not necessarily. If you plant love in that person's life and the relationship ends, it doesn't mean it was a loss. Hey Lisa, Adma Namaste. Doesn't mean it's a loss, because that love is going to sprout up somewhere with someone at some time. And all you can do is keep planting, 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 right? It's kind of like a farmer saying, I want a huge harvest of corn, but I'm only going to plant 3 seeds. I expect a huge harvest, and I'm only going to plant 3 seeds. It doesn't work that way. So if the farmer wants to have a huge harvest, he has to sow a lot of seed in order to have a huge harvest. So if you want a tremendous amount of love, of joy, of harmony, of enthusiasm, of bliss, of growth, of development, right? You have to sow a tremendous amount of that into the lives of your friends, your family members, your intimate partners, etc. Does that make sense? So I really